once again. We are now in public session. A few reminders before we start. For those participating virtually, a few rules. You can speak in the official language of your choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. Below your screen, you could choose floor, English, or French. If you can't hear interpretation, please let me know immediately so we can correct the situation before we continue deliberations. For participants in person, do as you would do normally when all members of the committee met in a meeting. Before taking the floor, please let me give you the floor by saying your name. If you are via video conference, please click on the microphone icon to activate the sound of your microphone. For those who are in the room, your mic will be controlled as usual by the person responsible for verification and procedures. All comments made by members should go through the chair. When you speak, please do so clearly and slowly. When you are not speaking, your microphone should be mute. As for the list of speakers, the clerk and myself will do our best to maintain the order of speakers for all those participating in person or virtually.
Arise, please advise me. Please note that we may need to suspend a few minutes as we need to ensure all members are able to participate fully. Conformément à l'article 100.
In accordance with Standing Order 103(3)(f) of the rules and the motion adopted by the committee on Monday, 1st of January 2022, the committee is starting its study on Francophone immigration in Canada and in Quebec. Before going any further, I would like to welcome Mr. Alain Reyes, member for Richmond-Athabasca, who is joining the Official Languages Committee permanently. Once again, I'll welcome our witnesses with us today via video conference from Immigration and Citizenship, Ms. Corinne Prince, Assistant Deputy Minister, Settlement and Integration, Ms. Alexandra Hills, Director General, National Network, Michelle Kingsley, Director General, Department of Immigration. 10 minutes at the most will be reserved for the testimony, after which we'll move on to questions. I will signal when you are left with 1 minute verbally, and you will be called upon to use your last minute to conclude. Let me now call on Ms. Prince for her opening remarks. You have the floor, Ms. Prince. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to address you here today. I would like to note that I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. I am accompanied this afternoon by Michelle Kingsley, Director General Immigration, and Alexandra Hiles, Acting Director General, National Network.
In shaping Canada into the diverse and prosperous nation it is today. Through Canada's managed approach to migration, there are pathways for foreign nationals to study, work, and live in Canada, including access to citizenship. Under the Constitution Act 1867, immigration is a shared federal, provincial, territorial responsibility. Immigration, therefore, requires close and frequent engagement and collaboration with provincial and territorial counterparts. Canada's approach to migration is intended to maximize Canada's economic and social well-being while protecting the safety and security of Canadians. The department creates legal pathways for people to come to Canada on a temporary or permanent basis. We plan the number of new immigrants and the balance between permanent resident categories in advance. However, immigration does much more than facilitating the movement of people. It brings people with skills, talent, and social connections, thereby contributing to Canada's economic development and recovery, as well as enriching its diversity. IRCC establishes annually the Immigration Levels Plan. The latest plan, released on February the 14th this year, describes the levels plan for 2022 to 2024. It specifies the government's intention to welcome a significant number of new permanent residents, 431,645 in 2022, 447,055 in 2023, and 451,000 in 2024. With the 2021 to 2023 levels plan, IRCC started indicating the number of permanent resident admissions needed to meet the 4.4% Francophone immigration target to be reached by 2023. This number is based on ranges, but specifically outside of the province of Quebec. Deux grandes voies saw.
There are two main routes available to immigrants who wish to stay or live in Canada. The permanent route, the basics of which are described in the levels plan I just described, and the temporary route, which consists of temporary residents, namely temporary workers, international students, or other visitors. Today, I will focus more on permanent residency, which consists of two main categories of immigrants: economic and non-economic immigrants, the latter being distinguished based on objectives related to family reunification and social and humanitarian considerations. For economic permanent residents, there are the skilled worker. IRCC offers a series of economic programs, most of which are governed by the electronic application processing system called Express Entry. This system facilitates the identification and selection of applicants with certain basic human capital characteristics or factors. For example, points are awarded to applicants with arranged employment by virtue of their level of education, work experience, or proficiency in one or both official languages. Second, provincial and territorial nominee designation. Each province and territory has its own streams that may target international students residing in Canada, skilled workers, or business people. Finally, the Canadian system also offers refugee protection, which has two main streams: the Refugee and Humanitarian Resettlement Program for people outside of Canada who are in need of protection. And secondly, the In Canada Asylum Program for people who make a refugee claim while in Canada.
Before the committee began shows you the steps, starting from the submission of the request, its reception, to the decision-making process, and the communication of the decision to the requester. In the latter step, the client receives the visa or residence permit. The duration of the immigration process varies from one file to another, but it is understood that it can take from 6 months to 2 years for an immigrant of the economic class to settle permanently in Canada. Je vais maintenant aborder l'immigration francophone.
I will now discuss Francophone immigration. In Canada, we can say that Francophone immigration operates according to two distinct patterns: Francophone immigration to Quebec and Francophone immigration outside Quebec. Under the Canada-Quebec Accord, established in 1991, Quebec is the only province that publishes its immigration objectives and targets annually. Conversely, the Government of Canada is responsible for setting the total annual number of permanent residents for the country as a whole. while taking into account Quebec's views on the number of permanent residents it wishes to admit in all categories. IRCC works with the Ministère de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration of Quebec, our counterpart in the government of Quebec, while respecting the respective roles and responsibilities of both levels of government as defined in the Canada-Quebec Accord. For the purposes of this presentation, let me focus on Francophone immigration outside Quebec, but first, let me make a few assumptions. The government recognizes that Francophone immigration contributes to the social fabric of the country and plays a key role in maintaining the bilingual character of the country. Immigration is one of the factors that contribute to maintaining the demographic weight of Francophones in Canada, but it is only one lever among many others. Immigration cannot be considered the only solution. Francophone immigration helps Francophone minority communities to develop economically, socially, and culturally.
On Francophone immigration dates back to 2003, which is when the 4.4% target for French-speaking immigrants outside Quebec was jointly established with the Francophone community. More recently, and to streamline our approach, in 2019, the Minister of IRCC announced the Meeting Our Objectives Francophone Immigration Strategy, which reaffirmed the goal of achieving the target of 4.4% of French-speaking immigrants outside Quebec by 2023. IRCC has put in place numerous activities to deepen the strategy, including additional points for strong French language skills and bilingual candidates, first introduced under the Express Entry system in 2017, and then increased
Madame
in
Prince,
2020.
excusez-moi, Madame.
Ms. Prince, you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
2020 and 21, in response to the pandemic, the department implemented a number of measures to facilitate the transition of temporary residents to permanent residency. And IRCC continues to explore innovative ways to support Francophone immigration with the shift to more visual promotional activities, and particularly the 17th edition of Destination Canada Mobilité Forum held virtually in November 2021. Nous reconnaissons l'avancée de toutes ces
We recognize the importance of continuing to support all these initiatives by and for Francophones. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be pleased to take your questions. Thank you, Ms. Prince. We shall start taking questions. Mr. Buck Dalton, representative of the Conservative Party, you have 6 minutes. Thank you very much for your comments. On the 8th of February, more than 36 complaints about the English-only press conferences by Mr. Sean Fraser were filed. Why was there no red flag issued to the minister? What would you do for that not to happen again? Did the Treasury Board intervene to ask you to correct that situation?
La question est à...
Was that question for Ms. Prince? It's immigration. So any of the three, anyone could answer Mr. Dalton's question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for that question.
En effet, je vais passer la parole.
Indeed, I will give the floor to my colleague, Mrs. Kingsley, and she'll be able to give you a more detailed response. Can you hear me? I'm hearing an echo. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are aware of the complaints that were made to the Official Languages Commissioner in this department. These are complaints that we take very seriously. We assess them in a case-by-case basis. Quality French is important to us, and it's important for us to be able to communicate in both official languages with our clients, and this with correct French and quality French. So we will make sure that any future communication will reflect this commitment. Historically, the Government of Canada has not managed to reach its Francophone immigration targets. And this is a target that the government has set itself of 4.4%. How can your minister explain this failure?
Madame Prince, on vous entend pas.
Mrs. Prince, we don't hear you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the question. Indeed, a 4.4% target of Francophone immigrants for Quebec was established in 2003 with the collaboration from community partners, as I mentioned in my presentation. I would like to underscore one thing. This is a target that's for 2023. We're in 2022. So we still have 18 months to reach this target. The evolution of this situation because of the pandemic has affected the number of Francophone immigrants that have been admitted, as well as the proportion of those that were admitted, because most of them come from abroad. We've put in place several elements that will help us reach this target. We've undertaken many initiatives by granting additional points to Francophone and bilingual candidates in the express entry system. And between January and December 2021, permanent residents who speak French that were admitted through the express entry represented 43% of all Francophones outside of Quebec. Still in 2021, the department put in place plans that are reserved for Francophone and bilingual candidates as part of the access to temporary residency towards permanent residency for essential workers. Thank you, Mrs. Prince. I only have a few minutes. I'm sorry to interrupt. I only have a few minutes, but if you have more comments, you can send them to us in writing. So we've had this target in place for almost 20 years, since 2003. So 4.4% immigration, French immigration in Francophone minority settings. Have you established whether or not this target is helping us fight to compensate for the loss of Francophones? And are these targets sufficient to increase the proportion of Francophones in the country? My question is important. What it is, do you have any internal studies that justify this target? You have 30 seconds, Mrs. Prince, or other witnesses. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Indeed, in May 2021, we put together a working group on the target. It was put together to support the IRCC mandate to examine the issue of the target, but also to think about what's next. So what happens when we reach the target, and then what happens after 2023? Thank you, Mrs. Prince. Thank you, Mr. Dalton. We're now going to go on to Mr. Angelo Iacono. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank the entire department for being here with us today. Granting additional points to Francophone and bilingual candidates is a great initiative. once these candidates arrive, how does IRCC help them to establish themselves on a long-term basis in the Francophone communities in which they land? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. Indeed, long-term establishment is important. In March 2019, the IRCC was launching the Francophone strategy, reaching our objectives, a strategy with Francophone immigration. The strategy, Mr. Chair, has three main objectives to support the vitality of Francophone communities. One, to increase Francophone immigration in Canada outside of Quebec. To support integration and retention of Francophone newcomers. And finally, reinforce Francophone communities' capacity. In order to retain our newcomers once they arrive in Canada, we have a Francophone integration path. We've increased that budget It was $40 million in 2019-2020 and $60 million in 2021-2022. What does that include? It includes a one-stop shop for accessing Francophone services. This way, people can be aware of what to expect when they arrive in Canada. Let's talk about this 4.4% target that needs to be met by 2023. Do we have any data that would allow us to figure out if these new methods are successful? Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regards to the current target, in 2020, we know that the Francophones recommended 3.6%. Do you have any numbers that you can present? Do you have any data? In terms of the number of newcomers? Specifically about the target you're trying to reach. So you're saying between here and 2023. So each year, you're making assessments. Do you have any results that you can share with us through the chair? Yes, we have this kind of information. And we can send this information to the committee after this meeting. Mrs. Prince, the Francophone community initiative, how will that be put into place? Thank you, Mr. Chair. We launched this initiative in close collaboration with Francophones. Indeed, this is the first time that I've seen such a targeted initiative. It was the communities themselves that proposed the 14 cities to the department. And we accepted each suggestion in each province and territory. Can you tell us about the integration process for the IRCC? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the integration stream was launched in 2018, and it allows newcomers, it allows them to have the most complete French language experience in order to build connections with Francophone communities throughout Canada. And this is a program that was created by and for Francophones. This is to support the vitality of these communities. Do I still have some time? 30 seconds. The fact that this is by and for Francophones is very interesting. These are services that allow newcomers to get settled, and it's provided by Francophone service providers. And it's for newcoming Francophones. And sometimes I add that it's also with the Government of Canada. Thank you, Mrs. Prince, for this additional information. Mr. Beaulieu, you have 6 minutes. With respect, my colleague earlier asked you how come you don't reach your Francophone immigration targets, and you didn't name any factors. You must have an idea what comes into play. Is it because we have difficulty recruiting in Francophone countries? Can you tell us at least one reason that would explain why we've never reached our targets? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this question. I can say that one factor that has complicated the situation for Canada with respect to meeting this 4.4% target is the pandemic. This is a global pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, well, this doesn't explain why you didn't meet your targets because it's a very recent development. I can name one factor that has a major impact. The high rate of refusal of candidates from African countries that are often Francophone. We know that Francophone and Anglophone African country admissions are the same, but because the Francophone community is heavily found in African countries, well, then it's difficult to reach our targets. So why are we refusing so many students? I hear that this is often related to the GDP of a country. Why are we refusing access to students from these countries? If we don't solve this issue, it will certainly be very difficult to go attract more Francophone immigration. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for this question. Indeed, the department has seen a slightly higher rejection rate for students from African countries. I'd like to give the floor to my colleague, Mrs. Kingsley, to give you a little bit more details. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question on the rejection rate for foreign students. I'd like to reiterate that international students are a priority for the department. They're a priority for many reasons. It's not really just about international students because Mrs. Prince said it is slightly higher, but when we have a 95% or an 80% rejection rate for certain African countries, it's incontestably a high rate. Why are we rejecting so many African students, whether they be Anglophone or Francophones? But this is just such an important pool of immigration for Francophones. Why is there such a high refusal rate? What I would say, thank you, Mr. Chair, is that when we look at the student visa files, each request is assessed individually. The criteria are a letter of admission from a recognized institution. I'm sorry, the criteria are not answering my question.
Les étudiants africains sont systématiquement.
There has to be criteria that cause this refusal of African applicants. On the field, there are many refusals for African students who request temporary visas. We hear that there's the fear that they will settle in Quebec after their studies. But at the same time, there's an international education strategy geared towards improving international students with the reason that they could settle. We see that a lot in Anglophone colleges in Quebec, where there's publicity telling people that you can have your permanent residency if you study in our college. On the other hand, for African Francophone students, they are being told that they cannot settle. So it's as if there are double standards here. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. At the end of the studies, there's a criteria that requires them, that could allow them to stay. They could come temporarily and then stay permanently. That is allowed. But what happens here is that for permanent residency that an international student could apply for is not guaranteed. 1 minute, Ms. Kinsley. The department should make sure that if ever the intention to stay cannot be satisfied for various reasons, at that time, we want to make sure that the student can go back home and have the intention to go back to their country of origin. I don't want to be excessively technical, but we have the tool existing at the same time to make sure that if we are controlling immigration, we want to encourage some students to remain permanently, but it's not guaranteed for everyone. In a context where it doesn't happen, we want to make sure that those students can go back home. But declaring that we have the double intention is not the reason for the refusal. But that's what many immigration agents are telling us on the ground. You're done. Ms. Ashton, you have 6 minutes. Thank you very much. I want to thank our witnesses today. Let me start with a question on the targets that my colleagues have already talked about. You talked about a 4.4% target, but that's the old immigration target for Francophones for 20 years. The government failed to meet that target. We need to go further than repeating the target. We need to catch up. Do you intend to adopt a new target to help us catch up, to cancel the decades of failure by the government? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the question. We have a 4% target currently in place for 2023. As I said to another member of the committee, we already have a working group set up to explore, first of all, how to reach the current target. And secondly, explore a target for 2023 onwards. Yes, we are now working very closely with Francophone communities outside Quebec to find out how we can catch up and have a target which after 2023 could contribute to the demographic weight of Francophones outside Quebec. And we have worked closely with our colleagues in Canadian Heritage in February 2021, with Minister Joly came out with a white book. And in that white book, immigration was added as one of the factors to increase the demographic weight in Quebec and outside Quebec for the future. Very well. I'll ask a question that has been raised already in committee. The Official Languages Commissioner testified about a systematic problem in Immigration and Refugees and Citizenship Canada. When it comes to the recruitment of foreign students, the Commissioner confirmed that immigration applications from some countries, particularly African countries, are systematically denied. That is a reality that concerns us a lot. I think this would be the same for any Canadian who hears that. How can you explain that? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for that question. Absolutely. Applications from international students from all countries in the world are very important for the department. I'll give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Kingsley, to provide more details. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. The acceptance rates for student permits change or fluctuate from one year to another, from country to country. Sometimes we see differences, gaps, differences to date based on analysis are small when we look at African countries. That being said, the idea that this could be discrimination or unconscious bias is something that the department takes seriously, and the department is taking measures to fight racism and unconscious bias. Thank you. I have one last question. We hope that any possible systemic discrimination will be changed by the department. Let me also say that I simply shared the words of the Commissioner when I asked my questions, so it's a very serious matter. Finally, my last question has to do with the shortage of Francophone staff. 1 minute, Ms. Ashton. For example, in this committee, I've talked about daycare centers and Francophone educational institutions. There's a significant shortage of staff. French language services are lacking in many regions like mine, and the absence of educators is a problem for Francophones. And that is where immigration can make a difference. What role will IRCC play in helping these communities provide these services? Maybe by facilitating the recruitment of Francophone qualified educators. Answer in 20 seconds, please.
Take that question. Merci pour la question.
Thank you for the question.
With its missions overseas, particularly our mission in Paris, who is in charge of selection from all Francophone countries to encourage French teachers, French immersion teachers, early childhood educators, health workers.
Madame Prince, malheureusement, je dois vous interrompre. Peut-être que quelqu'un d'autre vous pose.
Ms. Prince, unfortunately, I have to interrupt. Maybe someone else may ask the same question. Mr. Gould, 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the witnesses for appearing here today. I've been working as an MP for 16 years. During the first years, 2006 to 2007, there were about we have about 10 to 12 people who work. Every day we have people with problems. There's no staff for immigration service centers. 60 to 7% of the time, my staff are tired. 60 to 7% of my staff are there to help. This because people keep calling immigration to find out information about their files, and there's no information provided. And then they come to our offices, and there's not much we can do. We try to follow up to find out where the problem is, and sometimes we have to call immigration. Before, we had a direct line, and we could receive answers within 24 hours. Now it takes 2 weeks. We have a waiting list. and it takes 2 months to get information. So how can you help us? Because this makes no sense whatsoever. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Chair. Yes, indeed. IRCC is working closely with the offices of MPs every day to answer questions put to you. More people should be available. We cannot wait 2 weeks to get an answer when we have someone waiting for information. Now it's gotten to 2 to 3 weeks. Many years ago, it was 24 hours. Now it's 3 weeks. Very soon it's going to be 1 month, 1.5 months. It's too long. Do you have a staff problem? Yes or no? Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. IRCC has increased its staff numbers with every level plan. How many people are available to respond to the 338 MPs who are seeking your services every day? Mr. Chair, I do not have the exact number with me. We can provide that number to the committee after today's session. I can say, for example, that we've set up a call center. I'm sorry, it's not working, your call center. Your deadlines are longer than before. Note that your service is disappointing, very disappointing. We receive people in tears, people who are discouraged, people who are spending a fortune to immigrate to Canada through lawyers, and sometimes these are services that they could have received free of charge, services for which the ministry is not giving any information, and then they refuse to come to Canada because it's too expensive. I've seen horror stories where very poor people have spent $50,000 to $60,000. They have mortgaged everything. They have turned to their family members to borrow money to help them. Now they have no response to their file. I've seen deadlines that last 4.5 years, and at the end, all they have is a no. Is it possible to provide a lot more services, a lot more quickly, because it's becoming a national scandal? Mr. Chair, as I said before, IRCC, for years now, has continued providing services to members of parliament and to Canadians and to people who have sent an application to IRCC. I'm sorry. Has the government asked you to work faster, to be more efficient, and to be able to respond to requests that are delayed? Could you please work faster? Mr. Chair, I can clearly say that our staff, considering the global crisis in Afghanistan and Ukraine, we have set up a call center which is open 18 hours a day and the weekends as well. Honestly, this is an extraordinary service. We don't have other countries in the world that offer similar services over the weekend with supplementary hours every day. I'm sorry, one last question. I'm being told that many people come to IRC and use that as a stepping stone to go to other departments. Is it because it's very difficult to work in your department, and that is why people come there, work for 4 months, and then move on to other departments? Is it because it's so difficult to work there?
I can tell you that I have worked with this department since December of 2008. And when I arrived at IRCC, I found employees and colleagues who have worked at this department their entire career. So I would say that it's a department that is an exciting place to work, and we get to work on issues that are important, not only for Canadians, but internationally as well.
Merci, Madame Prince.
Thank you, Mrs. Prince. Now the floor goes to Mrs. Latenzio for 5 minutes.
Around the Canada-Quebec Accord. I'd like to ask either Mrs. Prince or whoever can answer the question as to what are the Quebec government's immigration priorities today in 2022?
Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the question. I honestly think that it would be best if you asked our colleagues in the province of Quebec, in the Immigration Department, to appear before the committee to share with you their priorities. I can tell you about federal priorities.
Can you tell me your priorities vis-a-vis the Quebec-Canada Accord?
Yes. The federal government has entered into the Canada-Quebec Accord in 1991 and has worked closely with the province of Quebec to ensure the entrance of Francophone newcomers to the province. Under the Accord, the federal government provides an annual grant to the province of Quebec to cover the costs of settlement services provided within the province. And we work with our colleagues in Quebec every year to do a comparative study looking at the services provided by the province of Quebec in comparison to the services that the federal government provides to all newcomers outside of Quebec. It's been a very positive relationship over the years and continues to be.
I understand in your preliminary remarks, you stated that the Quebec government issues out an annual report every year. Has the annual report changed much, I would say, in its priorities, or what have you noticed has changed in the last, let's say, 10 years?
Merci. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. The level and emergence of Quebec has grown over the past 10 years. And frankly, the mix has become more diverse. More international students with Operation Syrian Refugee, and more recently with the Afghanistan Initiative, a higher number of refugees through the humanitarian class. And so this has, coupled with the recent global pandemic, has forced not only the province of Quebec, but our colleagues in other provinces and our global partners to have to pivot to offer settlement services virtually and online. And this has been done very, very quickly. And given the future of the pandemic, we would expect that there will be a very significant number of services that will continue in a virtual format for the coming years. In fact, the province has implemented a number of those programs online, and recently, the province of Quebec, as well as other provinces, have gone back to a hybrid approach of both in-person and virtual services.
I'm going to read something to you, Ms. Prince, with regards to the presentation that you gave, and then I'm going to end it with a question. So it says that the Canada-Quebec Accord on Immigration stipulates that Quebec undertakes to pursue an immigration policy that has an objective, the reception of Quebec's of a percentage of the total number of immigrants received in Canada equal to the percentage of Quebec's population compared with the population of Canada. Furthermore, Quebec undertakes to receive out of the total number of refugees and persons in similar situations received by Canada a percentage at least equal to the percentage of immigrants that it undertakes to accept. So do These commitments run contrary to
30
the
secondes.
objective of preserving the province's francophone character.
Merci beaucoup pour la question, Monsieur le Président. En effet, le
Indeed, Mr. Chair. In 2019, Quebec accepted 23%. The interpreter would like to signal that the sound is cutting out. 18% of temporary workers and 14% of international students. Thank you, Mrs. Prince. Thank you, Mrs. Latenzio. We will move on to Mr. Beaulieu for 2.5 minutes. Perfect. Why are the rejection rates for temporary permits so high when students want to come to Quebec than when they want to go somewhere else in Canada? Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. To answer this question, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Kingsley. Thank you, Mr. Chair. When it comes to rejection rates for student permits, what we see is that the rate will fluctuate from year to year and country to country. This is due to multiple reasons, various reasons. Well, I have a chart here. We asked a question and we got an answer, but we saw that since 2015, the gap has been growing. The last years that we have, 2021, the rest of Canada rejection rate is 30%, and in Quebec it's over 50% at 52%. But you don't have this data and you can't explain it? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would have to see the document that you're referring to, but each work permit is assessed individually and following the same criteria. I talked about the criteria earlier. There are 3. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're not answering my question at all. You're repeating what the criteria are, but I'm asking you why. Another thing. What about the acceptance rate for temporary student visa acceptances are so much higher for English universities compared to French universities? And of course, you won't have an answer to my question, but I just think it's a shame to invite people to come give us answers. It would be nice to actually get answers. I know this isn't your fault. It must be some sort of directive that you've received, but I'm wondering if you can answer a little bit. I have so many numbers to support this. It shows that the refusal rate is so much higher for Francophone universities rather compared to Anglophone universities. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd like to reiterate that approvals and rejections fluctuate from year to year. Sometimes we'll see a higher rate of acceptance for certain universities than for others. Sometimes we'll see the opposite the next year. Thank you, Mrs. Kingsley. I would like to add to Mr. Beaulieu's comment. If you have documents, information, charts to provide us that will answer our questions, because indeed, as a committee, we expect to get answers. So I would invite you to send this information to the clerk. Now on to Mr. Boulris for 2.5 minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank the witnesses for being here with us today. I would like to come back to the matter of discrimination against African candidates, an unusually high rejection rate. You know, you say, Mrs. Kingsley, that you're debating over these or assessing them according to these three criteria, but I'm wondering about bias. Is there a bias in the system, in the questionnaire, in the AI? Are we the only ones facing this? Are there other countries that are facing this? Why is Africa different than other places in the last months? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. I will give the floor to Mrs. Kingsley. She'll be able to explain in greater detail the rejection rates for certain countries and why they may arise. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The department takes any question related to discrimination or racism very seriously. When it comes to assessing the student permits from Africa, there's a training system, and maybe my colleague could talk about it more, but there are specific anti-racism trainings that are offered to deciders. Thank you, Mrs. Kingsley. I hope there will be a lot of training that will be offered, but I would like to build on what my colleague Jacques Gourde was saying. I rarely agree with him, but I do frustrate his exasperation. Our offices are overwhelmed by immigration requests, people who are living in despair, in uncertainty, people who are trying to build a life in Montreal or in Quebec, and that find that their files are left to stagnate. They don't hear anything for 24 months, 36 months. They've started businesses, small, medium businesses, and have no answers, and they're getting desperate. These people have to pay for medical assessments twice because the timelines have dragged on so long that their medical assessments are no longer admissible, and then sometimes they have to spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to do them again. So can you tell us how this catastrophic situation will be improved and what measures will be used to improve the timelines? Mr. Boulris, this is the end. I don't know if we can get a 15-second answer, and if not, we will move on to the next questioner. Thank you for the question. I will give the floor to Mrs. Heil.
I would simply add that the levels plans that have been tabled in Parliament are funded levels plans, so the department is aware of processing times and backlogs.
Excusez-moi, Madame Mills, malheureusement, avec tout le respect.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Heil. Unfortunately, with all the respect that I have for you, I have to interrupt you because we are running out of time. We have gone over, if I could use that expression. So maybe you'll be able to respond in another moment. Mr. Dalton, you have 5 minutes. Well, I'll continue in this line of questioning. It's becoming increasingly difficult for our constituency offices to help people. People are waiting for weeks and months. This has an impact on Francophone immigrants as well. So I'd like to really underscore this issue. We've heard you say it's COVID. Yes, for 2 years there's been COVID. Now there's Ukraine, there's Afghanistan. There's always going to be a crisis in the world. So that's not an acceptable response. And as an MP, but not just as MPs, for Canadians, it's unacceptable. I know that you're here as spokespeople, so it's not you personally, but I think it's important for you to receive this message and do something with it. The Official Languages Commissioner stated on February 9th that we are meant to achieve the 4.4% target by 2023, but we won't be able to reach it. The fact that we have such an important lag to catch up, 70,000 Francophone immigrants in Quebec, in Canada, outside of Quebec, do you agree with this figure of 75,000 person shortfall? Thank you very much for this question, Mr. Chair. I can say that we have continued to create new initiatives to make sure, and I have to say the economic route is the most appropriate. Mrs. Prince is simple. I asked you this. Do you agree that we have a 75,000 person shortfall as stated by the Official Languages Commissioner? Yes or no? Mr. Chair, I would like the member to repeat the context in which the Official Languages Commissioner came up with this figure of 75,000 people. I will continue with my other questions. Maybe you can come back to this. The media has reported refusal of Francophone immigrant candidates, specifically from Africa. Do we have a structural problem in Canada? How will you resolve this issue with immigrants from Africa?
Monsieur le Président,
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. I'll give the floor to Ms. Kingsley. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. As I said before, talking about student permit refusals for African students, this can be explained by various reasons. We take allegations of unconscious bias very seriously, and our staff are taking training courses to identify any possibilities of unconscious bias that may interfere with their decision-making. We also are looking into possibilities of diversifying processing of applications. I'm sorry, thank you very much. I don't want to be impolite, but I don't have a lot of time, but many questions. I would like to talk about British Columbia, which I represent. 1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the report on French-English equality in Canada, immigration was identified as a priority sector for developing Francophone communities, French minority official language communities. Could you tell us the number of Francophone immigrants that are admitted as economic immigrants, specifically in British Columbia, and this over the past 5 years? Do you have the figures? Can you send that to us? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. No, I do not have specific figures with me for British Columbia when it comes to the number of Francophone immigrants over the past 5 years. Thank you very much. That is very important for our province. We hear about 4.4%, and this would help us improve the vitality of our communities. Time is up, Mr. Dalton. Thank you very much. Ms. Prince, I think you were about to tell us that you will send that information to the clerk. That will be much appreciated. Thank you. We shall conclude with this testimony with our colleague, Mr. Siri. 5 minutes, Mr. Siri. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, witnesses. I have a question, Ms. Prince. Yes or no? Could you tell the committee statistics by province since 2003 when it comes to Francophone immigrants? By province since 2003, targets have never been met. Yes or no? Are you able to do that? Thank you very much. I just want a table. Yeah, okay, we can send that to you. Second question. Could you send us a table of the number of staffers in IRCC since 2003 every year, and the number of new immigrants since 2003? We had 400,000 last year. That was a record. The number of staff members every year since 2003, and the number of new workers, of new people who came to the country, and then we'll see the statistics by province. I see you nodding. Very well. Thank you. When we talk about 2003 targets, this question is really non-partisan. Mr. Chair, the committee is working very well, at least since I came here. I don't know if it's because of me. Well, it's working very well. When we talk about targets, 2003 targets, it's 20 years now. The government has been in place for a few years. There were other governments in place before. So it's a non-partisan question. Targets were never met. Let me give you an example. I want statistics per province because in Ontario, I understand that there's a provincial nominee program. 5,600 new immigrants come to Ontario. Very few of them are Francophones. Ms. Prince, I would like to come back to something you said. You started by saying that the immigration jurisdiction is shared between the federal government and the provinces. So what roles do they have to meet those targets? We have 400,000 new immigrants, a record, but very few Francophones. So how is the jurisdiction shared? Because I know that in Ontario, very few Francophones come to Ontario. Is it the responsibility of the province? Is it the responsibility of the federal government? Are there recommendations or solutions that you can make here so that we can find out with who lies the responsibility? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that important question. And as the member has indicated, immigration is a shared jurisdiction. And to achieve not only the federal target of 4.4% by 2023, but at least 5 provinces and territories do have provincial targets as well. And the province of Ontario has a 5% target. I mentioned earlier in this committee that the best way to bring in Francophone newcomers is through the economic programs. So that is not only the federal economic programs, but also the provincial nominee program that the member mentioned. And so the province of Ontario has prioritized Francophone immigration and added several PNP streams with the view to attain their 5% target for the province of Ontario. As the member noted as well, federally, we have not yet, and we still have more than 18 months to go to reach the 4.4% target federally. But we work in étroite collaboration with our provincial and territorial partners. In fact, in 2018, we created a federal, provincial, territorial plan d'action to try to find the best way.
Une minute, Madame Prince.
1 minute.
And to ensure that we were using our missions overseas to promote Francophone immigration to source countries.
Pourriez-vous nous partager en 30 secondes, Madame Prince, pardon, encore une fois?
In 30 seconds, once again, could you please share the consultation table you have between the federal government and the provinces? Because this table here is looking for solutions. So if you do have a consultation table with the provinces, it's not only the role of the federal government, it's the shared role. Could you please share the recommendations or the work being done between the two orders of government and the consultation table? Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. Yes, we do have a plan of action, as I said, with the provinces and the territories, provinces and territories, and we can send a copy to the committee. Thank you, Madam Prince. Thank you, Mr. Sire. Let me take my privilege of chair to ask 2 questions, and that will be the end. I would like to put my question to Ms. Kingsley. A while ago, you said for African students, these are individual applications. I would like to check with you whether the applications that are made individually or which are poorly done, let me assume, could you not accompany these people? Because lots of these individual applications are being rejected. So is it because they are poorly done and that the questions are poorly answered? Don't you think that you should come up with ways of accompanying these people? Because Francophone immigration is a real problem. So this may be one of the ways of resolving the problem so that we can have more Francophone immigrants in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, indeed. The applications are individual and processing of the applications are also individually done. So each application is processed individually. So assistance is provided abroad to make sure that the applications are complete. Maybe I should give the floor to Ms. Hiles, who may provide more information about that.
question, Mr. Chair. I would point out that you are quite right that it's there is work to do on promotion and recruitment and counseling applicants in terms of how to submit a completed application. So in 2021, for example, we had 20 webinars where we took time to meet with students, explain what are the requirements to be issued a study permit to Canada, what are the common reasons for refusal, and how to successfully complete an application. So thank you for the excellent question. And we are putting, as Madame Kingsley mentioned, a fair amount of effort towards that.
Merci, Madame Hills. J'ai un rappel au règlement, Monsieur.
Thank you, Ms. Hiles. A call to order. We have 5 minutes left. Can we continue asking questions? The problem, Mr. Bolo, is that I cannot share that time equally between the 4 groups. But before that, I have a question. Because as chair, we always have that privilege. I have a second question. As I said during my introduction, I'm coming back to Mr. Sere's request. Can the immigration team tell us when there's a crisis situation? We've been told that there was processing for Afghanistan. Now we are hearing about Ukraine. Do you have dedicated teams withdrawn from the regular teams, or do you set up new teams? Do you undress one person to dress Paul? That's my question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the question. At IRCC, when the Afghanistan crisis occurred and now the Ukraine crisis, we work together. Ms. Prince, I'm sorry I'm interrupting. I just want to know whether you have dedicated teams or you take from the regular teams to deal with specific cases like the Afghanistan crisis. My answer is that we are setting up dedicated teams to process applications, giving priority now to Ukraine. These are IRCC staff members. Thank you, Ms. Prince. If everyone agrees with that, I'll give the last minute to my colleague, Mr. Bolio, for a quick question. There was no objection. No objection. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bolio, very quickly. I think you found a good solution when you said that you're carrying out studies to find out if there's any discrimination or unconscious bias, because it's something I experienced, something we saw recently. There was an English unilingual position opened at IRCC in Montreal. We wanted a lawyer to be able to plead in French. That's not even unconscious. So I think that that's something you have to look into to find out the attitude of people, whether there's no Francophobia or if there's something that's happening at IRCC. Does anyone want to answer, Ms. Prince? Thank you very much for the question. I will give the floor to Ms. Kingsley. 20 seconds. Thank you. The issue of discrimination, all forms of discrimination, whether on the basis of language or something else, is a priority at IRCC. We have zero tolerance against all forms of discrimination. We do that in our ministerial culture, the work we do, staff numbers, studies, programs, policies, and decision-making. So in the entire continuum of our business lines and everything that has to do with our staff culture. Thank you very much, Ms. Kingsley. Let me thank you all, representatives of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, Ms. Prince, Ms. Hiles, and Ms. Kingsley. Thank you so much for answering our questions. We will be waiting for your documents that were requested by the members of this committee. Thank you once again for taking part. Thank you. Now, our next meeting is on Wednesday. We'll be starting the immigration study. Let me thank the technical staff, the clerk, the interpreters. Thank you all. Thank you all members. I hope your acting chair was up to the task. Thank you very much.